Richie.
Hi, Sid. Do we just be you for this podcast? You're laughing too much. Richie, what are we talking about today? Well, Sin, we're talking about the lesser amygdala. Wow! And then you talk about almonds or something. Oh, I'm hungry for almonds. Yeah. Its head looks like a mushroom. I like to fry mushrooms. Have you had fried mushrooms, Richie? Like, not really. I don't like mushroom. Oh,
Hi, Richie.
Hi, Sin.
Hi, everyone. Richie, what are we talking about today?
Today on What Were Why Enemies of Bloodborne, we're discussing the lesser amygdala.
Lesser amygdala. Now you do an amygdala jingle.
Lesser amygdala!
Perfect. And this topic was recommended by Derek.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. And Derek was very specific. Lesser amygdala, not any amygdala.
Oh, so just the ones on buildings.
Yeah. I really appreciate the attention to detail.
Yeah. Well, the greater amygdala would just be patches. That'd be his request.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So Richie, what is a lesser amygdala?
Well, they're remarkably similar to the greater amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
The major difference being they don't have tentacles. No, they have tentacles coming out of their face, which the greater amygdala doesn't. And they never leave the building they're stuck on, because the greater amygdala starts off on a building and jumps down. These amygdala, they just stay on their building the whole time, and you can't hurt them. And the only way they interact with you is that they can either grab you or they can shoot lasers at you.
Do you remember the first time you were grabbed by a lesser amygdala?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I was in Oedon Chapel, and I thought, oh, an item in the distance, I'll have that, and I picked it up. And then I moved out of the way, and I noticed that a strange vortex thing appeared in the air and moved past me. And then I thought, oh, that's weird. And then I went back, and then it hit me, and I got grabbed and frenzied.
And in the moment, what did you think it was?
You can sort of make out the shape of the thing, because it's not entirely invisible. You see this like sort of shimmering outline of like, you can tell that it's something with a lot of arms and tentacles and things. The problem is that because I'd been following the pre-release stuff, I knew that there were giant spiders on buildings. I didn't know there'd be one on Oedon Chapel, and I didn't realize they went invisible. But
I see.
I had seen the design before, because it was yeah, I don't know why they did that, because it's not a surprise. But yeah, in the demo version, a bunch of the buildings in Yharnam had amygdala on them, and they just you could just see them.
Yeah,
to the point where when I first saw the note about the Bergenworth spider, I thought it was referring to one of those, because I didn't know about ROM.
Thank you, Richie. The first time I was grabbed by the amygdala, I thought that was a glitch or something. I was very confused. And I went online to be like, Bloodborne glitch? Is this happened to anyone else? And it did happen to someone else who was like, is this a glitch? And I'm like, okay, I guess it's a glitch. Okay. Yeah.
Sekiro glitch. There's a giant ape. It won't die. When it's from patching this.
Oh my god. Thank you, Richie. Could you physically describe the amygdalas?
Well, you could kind of say they were a bit like a spider. Because they have multiple limbs. Their bodies are sort of, they look like they have an endoskeleton like an insect. Exoskeleton like an insect. And Yeah. But if you look at the like makeup of them, it's not so much that they have like they're not all legs. They have like two obvious legs at the back that they stand on, and then they have all the arms coming out. So they actually have like it's almost like a human. It's basically like a very skinny person with 7 very long arms.
Kind of like in the
is a better way of describing them.
In Elden Ring, remember? There's like arms in the beginning.
Yeah.
Somebody just left a YouTube comment because it popped up on my window. And it's a comment on our podcast about the doll. It's the one where I start off by reading Fiends and Children 2 and Their Children Forever True, that thing with the thick Russian accent, and you're like, that's exactly how it's said. Remember?
Yeah.
So, and then...
I have a rough idea of how the comment's going to go.
No, you don't. Because you were kind of... you were pointing out that people are not very good at times at identifying accents. And I confess that neither am I, because I thought you were British, right?
Yeah.
And then this comment is by Britches, and it says, wait, he's not British?
Okay.
Thank
you, Sin.
Thank you, Richie. Yeah, sorry. What was I gonna say? I wanted to say something. Yeah, Elden Ring, arms like Amygdala. Ooh.
Do you want to know who I think it really comes from in the first place?
What?
Think about the only manga Miyazaki ever reads.
Reborn?
Well, he does have a thing about children, but
No, that's the manga he's scared of because the kids can't die.
Oh yeah, no, it'd be so frustrating.
Immortal baby.
He's just frantically flicking through, like, when does the baby die? Damn it!
Oh. And then he's like, there's a bug in this manga, the babies never die. You gotta patch that up. Okay, sorry, go on. So who has, like, many arms in there?
Not many arms, but the very, very long arms with the 6 fingers, I think he might have gotten from Berserk.
Oh yeah? How so?
Because one of the... I'm trying to find a good reference image, but it's hard to see one. One of the, like, the major sort of antagonists in it is a huge skeleton thing with a giant brain.
Is it the guy on the horse? Or
No. And they have very, very, very long arms with 6 fingers.
Is it one of the 5 things of the hand of God?
Hand.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I sent it to you just then. You can see one of his hands is poking out the side, but he's got very, very long...
It's pretty long, yeah.
Arms with very long... He's got 6 fingers on each hand. And you know how you give them the eye of the blood drunk hunter and the tonsil stone, and that helps you, like, move.
Do 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 do. It's the eye of the blood drunk hunter.
I was about to be like, well, at least it's Friday, and then I realized it's not. It's Thursday. You have to go to work tomorrow.
Oh
no. Yeah, so I sent you an image.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you describe the image you sent me?
It's the weird skeleton hand, and it's holding the Bayolet, which is the, like, MacGuffin thing from Berserk. Yeah.
Well, and it could be, you think, the equivalent of the tonsil stone?
I think just the idea of, like, the really big, thin hand grabbing onto this, like, object might have been, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Richie.
Yeah. And also, just, like, the huge... I mean, Void, it's called Void. Void is based on, very explicitly, an old 50s science fiction movie called This Island Earth.
No.
But, no.
It's based on Mars Attacks.
Yeah, they're both based on this island Earth.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's not very practical to have your brain outside of your skull because nothing's protecting it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, amygdala.
Okay. So also on the artwork, on the official artwork, it has a finger that's like a hook.
Yeah, and the spiders still have them. I don't know, they got rid of it. But the ROM spiders still have the hook, the hook forelimb. Yeah.
Is it like an eye-poking hook, or?
I don't know, because it has that animation where we'll talk about what they do when they're stuck to buildings.
Okay, so
they do one of
Go ahead. Yeah.
So they do one of three things if they're on a building.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they just chill. They don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, and if you walk close enough, their heads sometimes follow you, like they look at you as you walk past.
Yeah.
Sometimes they shoot a laser at you, which the boss version also does. But these ones, they're not the boss version, so you can't damage them. They just zap you. And sometimes they put their hand down and they just very, almost like gently, just sort of like move it along near the ground. And if you happen to be in the path of it, they grab you. Yeah. So the hook might have been something to do with that, like maybe they hooked you early on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like catching fish. It would have snacks on the hook.
Yes.
And it'd be like, hey, Hunter, you want some snacks? Hey.
No, I think they are meant to be like catching fish. Like they're searching.
Or maybe they would give out free snacks and not hook you.
That's possible. We don't know. Lance is looking at an old build right now. So if I'll ask him. Yeah.
Thank you. And where are the amygdalas? Sorry, lesser amygdalas.
There's one on Oedon Chapel. And there's one on the gate that leads to Yahar'gul. And those ones are always there. You need 40 insight to see them. And no matter at what point you are in the game, there are always those two amygdala there. Then there's a bunch in Yahar'gul, but they only ever appear after the ritual. So even if you're in Yahar'gul at the very start of the game and you've got like 99 insight, you won't see them. So they presumably just don't appear until the ritual happens and it like lures them there. Yeah. And I guess like in terms of unused stuff, there were quite a lot of amygdala that were planned for Central Yharnam that they were also presumably going to appear after the ritual, but they don't anymore. And I guess if you want to talk about like not necessarily the amygdala itself, but there's a lot of amygdala statues in the game.
No.
It's like the most frequently depicted thing you see.
No.
Is that statues of Bloodborne?
Yes.
Yeah, do that?
Yeah.
We also need to mention that the arms are asymmetrical.
And we just released a podcast talking about beasthood and the legend that it creeps up the right leg or whatever. So
yeah. So the amygdala has, they have like they're mostly symmetrical, but they have one arm that sticks out the side, which is not like part of the others. Basically, like they have the 6 arms on their torso, and then there's a 7th arm that it's just jutting out like kind of slightly below and like to near its hips, basically sort of where its pelvis would be. There's just another arm sticking out, just perpendicular to the body. And I don't know what the deal is, but that's the arm that's glowing when you fight them. You'll notice one of their arms glows and it has a little hole in its hand that glows on and off. That glows. Yeah, that's the glowy arm, is the one that sticks out. They also have, I guess, like, we want to keep talking about what they look like. Because
do they have
their
a hole
head,
in their heart or something?
yeah, they have their chest has like a cavity in it, and if you look into the cavity, it's glowing.
Right.
Right. They also have, their head looks like an almond, which is where the name comes from. And normally it just has that texture to it, but when they're doing certain attacks, eyes will bulge out of all the little sort of recesses. And you can see, if you look closer, they do have eyes under there that are moving around. They're just hard to see. But then when they do their attack, the eyes like bulge out of their head. It's like an inflating balloon.
Do you know why it happens?
Why does it happen?
Because they're really stressed. And let me show you what I mean. Can you describe what I just sent you?
It's exactly what I was thinking of.
Oh my
It's
god!
those stress. It's like a stress ball thing where it's got like a mesh on it, so when you squeeze it, the parts of the mesh sort of inflate out.
So you know how, like,
Yeah.
in people, like, if you're really stressed out, you have like a vein that like pulses or something.
Yeah.
So with the amygdalas, I'm sorry, with the lesser amygdalas, it's their eyes that just start bulging and popping. Oh, that's so sad. That means you're really stressing them out, Richie.
Well, yeah, but it's trying to kill you.
Could you not?
I thought you were going to say the reason its eyes bulge out is because it's seen, like, a sexy lady amygdala, and it's like, Awooga! But we can't see it because we don't have enough insight.
Oh my god. I can't whistle.
Hang on, I'm going to check that the lesser ones have that extra arm, because I don't know. I'm going to have to check, because luckily we have very nice amygdala gallery.
Richie, I just had a vision.
Yeah.
The thing is like the hunter is trying to pass like underneath the amygdala without being grabbed.
Yeah.
So they dress up as a sexy amygdala, you know, like
like Bugs Bunny.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to do like these poses with the music in the background to try and pass. And the amygdala's like, woohoo, you know?
Okay, so I can talk more about amygdala arms now. Okay, so the lesser amygdala, it looks like they have the full complement of 8 arms. And it's only the boss version, which we call the greater amygdala, that has the 7 arms. It's also the lesser ones have the tentacles on their face, the greater ones don't. And that's, I think, the only difference is because it's the same model. They just use it in different ways. So if you wanted, and people have done this, you can actually get the boss one through save editing to spawn with the tentacles. It just makes it very hard to fight because they're in the way. Yeah.
Thank you, Richie. Did we cover all the wares?
Well, does the severed arm count?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the Hunter's Nightmare, there is a severed amygdala arm under a bridge.
Where's the rest
Maybe
of the
that's why the one... Well, that's the one we fight in the Nightmare Frontier, and that's why it's only got 7 arms.
Whoa!
Think about it.
That was like my brain exploding.
I don't think it's that, but there we go. That's the headcanon now.
Thank you.
That's all right.
And why are the amygdalas?
Well, we talked about this another time. I don't know, did it make it into an episode about how they're kind of like pilot fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that make it into an episode?
Yes, it
or
did.
Be going over it again?
Yeah, just briefly.
Just briefly on this. Just be concise on this.
Oh my god, what a bully.
So, you'll notice that all around Yharnam, they have a lot of amygdala statues, right? And also in like Yahagol and Forbidden Woods, like amygdala is everywhere. But also in the grand scheme of things, amygdala is not that important. they're just sort of there. Like, we never seem to, like, offer a child to an amygdala. Amygdalas don't have children as far as we can tell. Like, they basically, if you remove them from the plot, nothing would change. So we were like, well, okay, they're not that interesting or youth. Like, they don't really do anything, but also they're the most frequently represented thing what's going on. And the sort of explanation that we came up with, which I think, like, I'm pretty sure that they didn't intend this, but it's sort of where we're at, and it lines up, is that amygdala is like a species. Like, it's the only they call them great ones, but amygdala, like, there's a whole lot of them. There's not just one. Whereas the other great ones we run into are all unique. Like, there's only one moon presence, there's only one cause, there's only one mensis brain, there's only one Oedon. But there's a ton of amygdala. And I think the idea is that whenever there's some sort of eldritch shit going down, they're just kind of, like, attracted to it. It's like the first thing that happens before the big, like, before the moon goes red and before the great ones start descending and everything, is that amygdala starts showing up. So we likened them to pilot fish. So a pilot fish is just a fish that follows a bigger fish around and sort of eats the scraps. So that's how I was sort of thinking of them, is like,
right.
Basically, Mensis are doing something in Yahagul, so there's an amygdala there, and, like, Oedon Chapel, like, Oedon is there as, like, a presence haunting the chapel. So I guess, like, and you don't see them unless you're on 40 Inside. So they just sort of, like, are appearing in that place. The other thing they mention is that they talk about the hunters vanishing. In the DLC, they say that, like, one night the hunters all disappeared. And the way that you end up in the place the hunters are now is that you get grabbed by an amygdala while you're holding that eye. So it seems like shortly after, like, the Curse of Kos started really taking hold of Yharnam, I guess, like, a bunch of amygdalas showed up and just started, like, picking off hunters. Picking off people who had the curse in their eye. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So that means they're, like, cleaning up the streets.
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, they don't do anything to us.
So
there's two that will shoot you with lasers, but I mean, arguably they're being provoked.
That's interesting. So maybe the amygdala is there to, like, help people. Like, oh, you're blood drunk, you should not be walking the streets.
It's like a courtesy cab. Like, you've had too much blood.
Yeah.
I'll take you home.
Yeah, exactly. Amygduber.
That took me a second. God.
And for those who don't understand, could you explain what I did there?
Sin combined amygdala with the Uber app. Creating Amygduber.
Amygduber.
It's your Uber driver. I am outside. You can't see them because you don't have 40 in sight.
Amygduber. Sounds so cute. What does Amygduber look like?
An overworked amygdala who has to be part of the gig economy to keep themselves afloat.
Aww.
No benefits.
Aww.
No union.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's very depressing. I imagined, like, a cute little chibi amygdala. Like, hey, I'm Amygduber. How's it going?
Good.
Okay. Is that it?
Well, I started talking about things. You went, no.
When? What?
I was trying to talk about all the statues and everything, and you're like, no.
No, we don't talk about statues. Sorry.
But the statues of the thing we're talking about.
What is the name of the series?
What were why enemies of Bloodborne?
Is it what were why statues of Bloodborne?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
No, Mrs. Sinclair. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sinclair.
Okay, so in terms of the lesser amygdala, in terms of the why, is there anything else to say?
No, I'm pretty sure it's just like when you start messing with eldritch stuff, they're like attracted to it, and that's why there's so many statues of them. Because people who were dabbling in the arcane would see them and they make statues of them.
Thank you,
I can't talk because she's here.
It's like you need like 40 insight to hear your whispers. It's okay because I don't have it, right?
Is that why you drink? It dulls your insight so you don't see amygdala everywhere.
Oh my god. Thank you, Richie.
That was what we're why enemies of blood. Oh, wait a minute. Sin. Is a lesser amygdala an enemy if you don't fight them?
Oh my god! Oh my god, it's not an enemy at all!
Well, I mean, they can damage you by shooting you, but it's indiscriminate.
In a previous podcast, we covered that they're shooting lasers at you because they want to show off their cool lasers to you.
Also, they're not specifically shooting them at you. Like, they'll attack everything.
Exactly! They just like, hey guys, check out my cool lasers! You know what it's like? Okay. Remember X-Men?
Yeah.
Remember Cyclops?
Gene!
Like, he has these glasses, right? But let's say he would accidentally drop them or whatever. I think this happened in the movie. He, like, lasered half the school. I feel like they should have been attached to his face a little better. So maybe that's what happened. Like, the amygdala has special glasses, and it dropped them, and it, like, just, like, lasers all over the place.
So, do its glasses a helmet, or does it actually have, like, 27 lenses? 27
lenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just imagined it with the glasses, but its eyes blink out of order, and it's so cute. Like, you know, it's not synchronized, like, blink, 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 blink. It's like, ooh.
Thank you to our patrons for making all of this possible.